Hi. Hi.
Hey, Valerie.
Hi.
I was doing some stretches while before sitting down.
I
I
had
found that I
had
have to do
dental
that.
surgery.
There's so much Zoom work that
I know, my God. I had dental surgery yesterday. So
oh no. Oh, I had that little thing. Would you have something? I had a tooth removed a couple weeks
I
ago.
had my gums shortened. So because I have to get a new crown and there wasn't enough tooth to put the crown on.
Oh my God. I know the teeth. I've never had any problem with my teeth growing up. And then just in the last couple of years, I'm trying to straighten them. And
yeah, I know. I think it's like, my mother, my 89-year-old mother is having a tooth pulled today.
yeah.
And she has, and I, now that I'm 60, I'm like having all of my mom's tooth issues. And I'm like, right. Cause I had really good teeth growing up, but then I know.
So did she, but yeah, my mother passed a couple years ago, but she made it to almost 92. And until the end where she had a bridge, she always had perfect teeth too. So I have a theory, you can only hold the dam back so far. That's what I call it. Because
your mom made it to 92. That's great.
Yeah, my father made it to almost 100. So I have good genes. Yeah.
My dad died at 76. And so
oh God, that's so young now.
I know, in 4 days it'll be a 15-year anniversary.
Oh my God, he was a Pisces too.
Yeah. He died on March 6th, but he was born on February 20th.
Oh, which
so
still makes him.
He was a Pisces. Yeah, he was a Pisces.
Was he?
My mom is an Aquarius.
Oh, I know that.
What are you?
I'm a Pisces. My birthday is actually 2 weeks from today. And
wait, when's your birthday?
March 18th.
Oh my God, my birthday is March 25th.
And you know why that makes sense? I cannot tell you the hundreds of friends from my birthday to that week, like the beginning of Aries, because I think I'm on the cusp and I attract, because I have the dreaminess of Pisces, but I have the energy of Aries and I go there. So I'm calling it's my sexy birthday. If you think of a certain number, that's a certain sexual. Let's see whose minds go there.
Well, welcome everyone. And oh my God, there's our special guest, my favorite person. I'm going to spotlight you, but I'm going to talk to everyone too. So let me talk to everyone and wait till everyone gets in here and then we'll talk. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the March Content Mastermind. And Regina, do you mind if I make you a co-host so you can?
I'd love it.
You're the best. And if you see me doing this, it's because I had a little dental surgery. That's what Helene and I were talking about today. I had a little dental surgery yesterday. So
I was last week. We're all doing it.
For you guys that don't know, I just kind of want to start off this mastermind and we'll make a bigger announcement in the mastermind on Tuesday. For you guys that are Scott's clients or my clients, you don't know this. But we have made some large changes in our company in the last week, and we lost 3 of our coaches. One of those coaches was Jesse, Brian, and Alec. It has a lot to do with the health of Valerie Hubbard and the health of my company. It was the hardest thing I've had to do in 11 years. And I have to thank you so much, Regina and Danielle and Laura and the people that were affected by losing their coaches, to thank you for your graciousness and being amazing clients. And we love you, and your success is what's most important to us, obviously. It was very difficult decision, but it was sort of like either save me and my company or not, was kind of what the decision came down to. And we are moving towards more of a group environment. And the changes that are going to happen in the content mastermind are very, very exciting. When I came up with the idea for the content mastermind a couple of years ago, and then I asked Jesse to run the content mastermind, my initial idea was to bring in a lot of different content creators. And it ended up just being Jesse, which is great. I mean, she did a phenomenal job and you guys loved the content mastermind. But what we're going to do moving forward is we're going to bring in some high-powered producers, people that have created their own content, have made a lot of money doing so, and are getting a lot of success doing that. Today, we're going to be joined by David, which a lot of you guys know, and I'll let him tell you everything that's happening. Next month, we already have lined up Meredith Riley Stewart. And you guys know she's sold and produced 3 films, including a film where she produced it, and she played opposite Mina Savari. She just optioned a play. She's turning into her own little Reese Witherspoon. It's very exciting what's happening with her. We have some other people that we are lining up, people like the playwright and Pulitzer Prize winning playwright, Stephen Allen Gurgis, to be one of our guests. And Sarah is working on some of her high-end producer friends. And I can tell you guys that next Saturday, Accelerate Live, we just got the showrunner for Lucifer to come in and be on the panel. And David is also going to be helping me get some other people. And we've talked about some other people. So we want to bring some high-end producers, but a lot of these producers we want to bring in are people that are actors. I mean, David was an actor, and then he got bored during COVID. So I'm going to have David share a little bit today, and then listen, we're going to open up the floor and have you guys talk to David about what you're working on. Danielle has a show that she wants to talk to everyone about. Her one-woman show is happening on March 18th. What's the date, Daniel, real quick? Wait, you can't unmute. Hold on.
The 26th.
Thank you. Yeah, my thing was frozen. March 26th, 2 p.m. at the Pit Loft, NYC, West 29th, between 6th and 7th. Thanks so much, everyone.
Okay, great. And she's going to post that so we all know when those dates are. So that's it. Okay, so first of all, let's just welcome David to the room. Hi, David.
Hello. Nice to see
Hi.
There's a few people on there I think I've seen on your
Yeah, these are all clients, and a lot of people will be watching the recording because next week is our Accelerate Live event. We moved the content mastermind, and so anyway, that's the deal. But a lot of you guys have been with David in different events, and oh, here comes your favorite, Catherine. She's coming in. She's on her way. She's on her way to a red carpet event at 10 o'clock in the morning. So she's like calling in from her car, but she's here. So, all right. So David, introduce yourself. Tell us what's going on, what you're all about, and I'll shut up.
Hi guys, so I'm David Olson. I just want to say on what Val was just saying about kind of the new direction for AFT. I think that's really amazing, because one thing that you'll learn as you start doing these things is there's no one way to do it. There's not one true path. So the more people you hear from and the more opinion from producers that you get about how they got their content off the ground or how they got their shows or their films going, you'll be able to you'll take pieces from everybody else's journey and find your own path with it. So I think this is fantastic, because you're never going to be able to replicate step by step what someone else did for yourself. So I think it's a really good move forward. So I'm excited for everyone for that. But yeah, I mean, I live in Canada. I was an actor for a long time and I did okay at it. And then during COVID, I just got really bored. And when everybody was on Instagram doing those Instagram live interviews and talking to their friends, and then you had people like Miley Cyrus starting an Instagram talk show and things like that, I thought, well, I could do that. I know interesting and fun people, Valerie included. And that was on a Monday. I just started having the idea about it and kind of talking to people. And by Thursday, I had a deal with Amazon to do a talk show. And in the 3 years since, we're now one of the most aired daytime shows in Canada. And then we air now in like 55 countries on a bunch of different platforms. We just launched in the States on like 5 more streamings, like Tubi and Roku and Freevee, like a whole bunch of new services down there. Cable TV in the UK, and it's interesting. So I feel like I did it with no help, in the sense of no agent, no distributor, no manager, just picking up the phone call. I'm really doing what Val has been saying for, I mean, I've known Val for like almost 15 years now, something like that, and really taking her advice and just, you know, cutting the middleman out, picking up the phone and not taking no for an answer. So yeah, that's pretty much how I did it. And then that's transitioned to selling another show. And I'm very close now to selling a third show. And, you know, so I this method works. And Catherine, I'm going to talk about for one quick second, Catherine Hollis Peters, she came on my show in the fall. We filmed an interview. And I think that's so amazing, because that's proof that the traditional model, you don't have to follow it. You can break the rules. You know, Catherine is taking Val's advice and taking Val's guidance, and she's just blowing all the, like, you know, 50 or 60 some bookings in the last 12 months or something crazy like that. I think it's really inspirational. So it's exciting and it works. And what you're doing and the kind of what you're learning and what you're being told, it does work. And I think that the people, there will always be people who say you can't do this, you can't cut the agents out, you can't cut the managers or the casting directors out. If you sit back and listen to where that's coming from, chances are it's coming from the agents and the casting directors and the managers, because ultimately, if you're right for the role and you're right for you know, if as an actor, you're right for the role, or as a producer and a creator, you're right for the network, they're not going to care if you came through a casting director or if you took the initiative to get to them directly yourself. If you're the right fit, you're the right fit. So.
Right. And I don't know if you know what's been happening the last 2 days, and if
No.
you guys have been paying attention to Deadline.
No.
So what happened was Betty Made Casting, which is Mary Verneau, which is probably one of the biggest casting directors that out there, put an ad on Instagram saying that they were going to start offering paid self-taping. And all these big celebrity young Gen Zers got on Twitter and on Instagram and went to town on them and started saying, like, you know, there was one guy that said, I forget what he said, but he said, this is predatory, right? He said, this isn't you getting a place to audition, it's actually predatory. So they raised such a stink 3 days ago that then SAG-AFTRA stepped in and said that they were scolding them. And then so all these actors are now on SAG-AFTRA saying, oh, you're scolding them. Oh, good for you. And so I want to say that we are seeing what I've been saying, what I have been fucking preaching about for the last 11 years is actually occurring, right? And I notice it because you know, there's these people on TikTok that have come after me, right? These once upon a time casting directors, or this one now who's associate casting director and producer, but she's such a busy producer, but I don't really understand. She's such a busy producer, but she has so much time to be on TikTok. And as she said in a very violent private message that she sent me, she said, I'm just here to help actors. No, the thing is that there's only one person that casting directors can talk down to, and that's actors. they feel that they have more power over us. And as their power begins to slip away because things are being made without casting directors and without distributors, they're going to get more violent. This woman has actually gotten violent with me. If you don't know, she reached out to my agent. She didn't call the agent. She emailed and said, please don't tell your client who this is. Like, I didn't know who it was. But anyway, you know, what I find interesting is that, you know, I'm the first actor that's probably ever stood up to her. And it's because I mean, what's she going to do to me? Like, literally, what is she going to do to me? Right. And even if she did, like, even if my agent would never drop me, because I've been with him for 17 years and, you know, he makes a steady paycheck for me. But even if he did, I at this point, I see that what my job is to get the bullies out of the way so we can get on with what we need to do, because all they are is bullies. And they don't hold a lot of weight, and they're going to lose more power as we move along here. And so, you know, it's really interesting because, you know, she told me that a movie could not be made without a casting director. And I was like, oh yeah, it's happening all the time now. Right. And so, and you sold 2 shows now without distributors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so talk about how you learned to be on the phone. Talk about that process a little.
Well, to me, a distributor is like the production version of a casting director. They fill the role. You can do, I'm going to just take a top level view really quickly from something that I've heard you talk about before, that you're a CEO, like as an actor, as a producer, as everybody on the call right now, you are the CEO of your own business. And one of the best pieces of business advice that I ever got was that if you're the boss or the manager or the CEO, you should know how to do everyone else's job under you. And that's how you lead, and that's how you run an organization. So I applied that to acting in the sense that, okay, well, I have an agent. What does she do? And why can't I do that myself? So I went and I actually worked for her for 6 months and learned how running an agency works. And then taking the same principles with content creation and making a show, once you actually have the finished product, it's like, okay, well, what does a distributor do? Well, they're calling networks and they're pitching, but then they're taking 30 or 40 or 60% of your license fee. I'm like, well, I'm sitting on my ass doing nothing all day anyway. Why can't I call the networks and I pitch to them and I email them and I call them? And it's the same with, you know, a publicist, for example. Well, what does a publicist do? They're taking a press release and they're sending it to news outlets. All of these contact informations, these email addresses and phone numbers, they're publicly available. So you can teach yourself to do all of these things. And then at the very end of the day, your net profit is so much higher. So just learning how to do the jobs that all of these other people do. So when you think about your team, okay, you're paying for a distributor, you're paying for a sales agent, you're paying for a graphic designer, you're paying for closed captioning, all of these different elements. What can you sit and teach yourself to do and pay yourself to do and put money in your own pocket instead of all these other people who they don't earn money unless you do something? Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
So I found with the show, it was during COVID. So we did it on Zoom like this, is how and that's how we still do them now. I got all of the phone numbers and the emails for all of the networks that I could think of. And I called every single person and it was, no, never going to work. You need a distributor. Don't call us. No, unsolicited. We can't do this. This is a dumb idea. No one's going to be interested. You don't have a platform or a voice or a profile or whatever. Then we launched on Amazon, the only people to say yes. And it was a really weird deal, but we made it work. And then we launched on Amazon. And then all of a sudden, every single one of those networks came back saying, just kidding, would you be interested in selling this to us? And now, like, it's at least 24 different networks and streaming service. Like in Canada alone, it's like 25 different broadcast, like linear networks being traditional television, and then your expanded services being like streaming and fast channels and things like that. Just in Canada alone, it's about 24, and they've all come back to us saying we made a mistake. So, these are people you have to think at the end of the day, the producers, a lot of people treat actors and content creators like you are disposable and like, you're the lowest rung of the ladder in the industry, but they need you. You can't have a show made without the people that are there to tell the stories. And then you can't have a network to air content without the content being made by you and starring people like you and acting in it. So really, that mindset, that's my biggest gripe with the industry, is we're not the lowest rung on the ladder. You would have no industry without the people sitting here on this call who are actually the creatives and the artists and the people coming up with the content.
It's always been my biggest gripe. It's like there's only one person, and yet we are treated like often. I mean, I literally have heard, and I'm sure some of you have heard when you've gotten to set before, oh, you're just an actor. Like,
if people think that there's so many times that I have seen people like that kind of a mindset, and then you put them in front of a camera or you put them on a call like this, or you put them on the show and they're so arrogant, and then they sit and all of a sudden the light turns on and the camera starts rolling and it's right? Like people, they don't realize till they actually have to do it themselves. But I think if you're nervous to take the jump and make the call and break the rule and be a disruptor, you just have to remember the worst thing that's ever going to happen is they're going to say no, or they're not going to cast you, or they're not going to, but it's just like they say that actors are a dime a dozen. Network streaming services, distribution outlets, they are a dime a dozen. Casting directors, producers, movies, dime a dozen. You can find it. If that one person says no, it's not the end of the road. You can go to the next person and the next person and then the next person. And they need you at the end of the day. You're the ones giving them what they need. And ultimately, nobody makes money unless you're creating your content. There's no actors get paid, no casting directors, no producers, no networks, no advertisers. Nobody makes money unless at the core there is that content being created.
got
Hopefully
it.
that makes sense. Am I going off on too many tangents?
No, no, not at all. I know these guys are like soaking it up. So the second show you sold, you met Amanda at my event, Amanda Richards, and you guys all know Amanda, that had a casting at Sony, who's a good friend of ours. And so you met Amanda, and she said,
so Amanda reached out after the panel. Amanda reached out and asked, how is our US distribution going? And I said, it is really tough to break into, like, it's going okay, but it's really hard it is a grind. And she said, well, I have a friend that's just started this company. So it's networking and solving that problem. So Amanda stepped in and she introduced me to a colleague of hers who works for a distributor. But they came to the table, they looked at the original talk show and they liked it, and they made a really generous offer. But they were reasonable in the sense that they saw what we'd already done and then what the traditional kind of revenue split was, and they cut that in half essentially. So it's a really equitable, because they knew that we had already done a lot of the legwork, and so they've just taken it, and so it really helped. And then getting that first one off the ground and selling it, then I kind of understood how the industry works in the sense of pitching and selling and negotiating, and where I went wrong. I could have made quite literally millions of more dollars off of this thing if I had known what I was doing initially a little bit more, because I was a bit arrogant with it, thinking I don't need anybody and no advice or anything. But I taught myself. And now with this second show, it was, now that I have the context and the resources for that, I was able to do it better. And I was able to see, where did I mess up on the first one, and sell a second show. And now I'm in the process of selling a third show that I'm not in or on. I just produced and came up with the concept of it. And now we're selling this third one. So
can you tell us a couple of things that you saw that you did wrong that maybe would help us?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. I was so desperate just to get the show out there that I devalued myself. And I think that's where I messed up initially, because I didn't counter when I got the first offer from the first actual television, Out TV is the name of the network. When I got their first offer, it was really, really low, and I didn't counter. And I said, and it was like a 5-year deal for 4 seasons at a really low number. And I really, really devalued myself. So I would say that's step one, is don't be so desperate to get yourself out there that you're not going to know your worth. Because what I learned after that was we just renegotiated for, we typically do 13, like it's a short block shoot. We shoot 13 episodes, they repeat all the time and then get licensed in third, fourth, fifth windows on other broadcasters. They've upped us now from 13 to 40 episodes. So we will do one new episode a week, every week for 40 weeks out of the year for the next 2 years. So it's an 80 episode buy. And when they sent the offer, it was the initial very first deal that we signed. And I just emailed her back and said, it's no longer feasible at these numbers. And immediately she came back and the offer was 3 times higher. So then it was the same with selling the second show. When I called and I knew that they would take it, but they sent this really low offer and I said, I need a higher number. And immediately they came back with a higher number. So that was the biggest single lesson I learned, was don't devalue yourself just for the sake of getting on TV. You will get your content out there and you will be, in deadline, and you will have your face on the screen and your movie will be shown eventually, but don't devalue yourself, because then you're setting the precedent for everyone else to devalue you. That's my most important thing that I taught myself.
That's so important. I've been working with these girls out of Canada, all you Canadians, call the $1 Million Year. They're called Dow Janes, and I've been working with them, and they teach a lot about negotiating. And I just was texting with the owner, and I said, I'd really like to get you to come in at some point and talk to my clients, because my people, because I think that one thing that I've talked a lot about lately in my new top 10, which I just taught in London when I was there, one of the things is negotiating. The skill of negotiating is now imperative for all of us to learn, because we never had to learn that. And, we're so, actors are the smartest people I know, but we are so asleep at the wheel, right? Like I just had, I know one of our new clients, said, hey, I need to talk to you for 10 minutes. I have these agent offers. I said, just tell me who the agent is and tell me what the offer is. I don't need to talk to you. Just tell me what the agent is, what the offer is. And they sent it to me. And it was like, the minute I saw the name, I was like, no, right. Like, no, especially if he's a real super good looking kid, he's going to get, he's going to get an agent eventually, but right now he needs to be just meeting directors and producers, because he's going to get a career before he finds an agent, and he's not going to need to start at the bottom. And often when we start at the bottom with these bottom level agents, they actually hurt us more than help us. Right? Because they can hold, I went through that with Joy Nash. Joy Nash got, a lead in a series without an agent. Well, she had an agent, y'all. And it was a crappy agent. She got herself the audition for the series lead. And then she had this agent. If she had not signed at the time with ICM, and now because ICM was bought by CAA, she's with Gersh. But if she hadn't signed with them initially, then they were able to them and their attorneys were able to get rid of that crappy agent. But sometimes you're not able to. Like Lisa Kudrow's been in lawsuits for years because of the crappy agent that she had, from when she booked Friends. So, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
When I first had the initial idea for the show, my agent at the time was one of the people that said, absolutely not. And she went so far as saying, I don't want to hear any more about this because you're wasting my time. So then I said, well, can I do it and not involve you? And she didn't care. She waived all of her rights to it because she thought it was the biggest, dumbest waste of time. And she went so far as saying, this is going to be embarrassing for you career-wise, because it's going to be cheap and it's not going to work. Well, then she waived her rights to it. Then I got a new agent, but I had already pitched the project, so she had no rights to it either. If one of the agents at the time had said yes and actually bet, they would have earned close to $150,000 in commissions by now over the last 3 years, just on what the agent would have been entitled to. So agents are, some are really good, but some are really lazy, and they don't think outside the, because it's agents, casting directors, distributors, they all earn money off of your work. And so taking a risk is not in their best interest, because spending the time on something that they don't know is for a surefire win for them is not in their best interest, because it doesn't guarantee them a paycheck, and they're not risk takers generally.
Yeah, this
Right?
is so good. I mean, it's so good because it's everything that I've been talking about the last week, you know, and actually, you know, for the last 11 years, but it's amazing how it's all coming to fruition now, and I'm seeing it all play out and how it's going to play out. It's really, really amazing how it's all playing out. So
Well, I guess say ask yourself as well, like, why can't, if you have a show or a movie that's done and you know where you want it to air, why can't you ask them if they'd want to buy it? Or if you're an actor on here and there's a person that you want to work with, a director or a producer or someone that you want to work with, why can't you email them or reach out to them? There's nothing stopping you from reaching out to these people. And the worst that's going to happen is they say, no, not at this time, not for us. There's nothing stopping it.
no, and you know, and what I keep seeing over and over again is that, like, you know, when these people argue with me, the chicks on TikTok argue with me, they say they don't have time for that. They're overwhelmed. They get a lot of requests for actors. First of all, I don't believe that producers and directors.
How is she? I know who it is, and I don't know how she is so overwhelmed when from the movie of the week she cast 7 years ago.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that successful.
No, it's another one now. There's another one now. There's another one now that's like an associate. She's the one that really came after me. Oh my God, she sent me crap. I had to block them finally because they were they're insane. But like, you know, they're saying they're overwhelmed, and that would, and the truth is that what I have known now is if we go at this as smart CEOs, they're not experiencing actors like us. They aren't. When you're like a David, when you're like you guys, which we're teaching you how to be smart CEOs here, most actors don't have that. And I can attest to that because, you know, a lot of the actors that ask me for advice, it's like, oh my God, you're so like, come and be around me for a while. You don't even just like listen to what I'm saying, because the perfect example is Kat O'Day, right? Like Kat O'Day, which by the way, I need to answer her. Kat O'Day was, the princess at Sarah's daughter's birthday party. And, John Griffin from on MGM came up to Sarah and he goes, who is this girl? She's amazing. She's an amazing princess. And he goes, oh, and Sarah goes, oh, she's an Actors Fast Track client. And he goes, of course she's an Actors Fast Track client. Your clients are so smart. So the reputation now is out there that you guys are smart, that you're business savvy people. And we want to keep that rep with big producers that actually have shows on television that you've heard of, that you can go watch, right? That's what they think. And we want to keep that reputation going. So that's what I'm telling you. And he's telling you the same thing, like, reach out.
And network you have as well. Like there's a whole community of people here on this call. Like, use the Facebook group, the I Love Actors Facebook group, for example. Like, you have each other as well to use as resources and to practice. So I mean, start doing practice pitches and practice calls and give each other feedback. And don't be don't be afraid to get negative, constructive criticism, because you will get it. I mean, I get it all the time from these people, and some of the ideas are good. And so that took a bit as well. Like I thought I knew, I got the first couple of yeses on my own and I'm like, well, fuck everyone else. I know what I'm doing. I've figured this out. I have cracked the code. I know what I'm doing. But then when you start actually taking some feedback and looking at it objectively, it's like, okay, well, we can do better now. Now we can do bigger and now we can do better. So, still listen and don't get arrogant about it and be open to it, but also realize that you don't need these other people. And I saw someone just put in the chat, Karen, does your acting agent get commission on the content you film, or just if you're acting in the film? Just if I'm acting. And, I still have a couple of different agents, and they're necessary and they're useful and they're relevant, but they're only one piece of the business. And so the way that I envision it and the way that I picture it is, okay, I've got an agent that's here. She's out finding work. I've got a Vancouver agent. She's out finding work. I've got the girl in Toronto. She's out finding work. They're all out finding other opportunities, but they each earn between 10 to 15%. I'm responsible for that other 85 to 90%. So I can't just send them out to do it all on their. I still have to generate content, generate business opportunities, and generate income. At the end of the day, it's about, you need to pay your bills and get the money for myself. So if they don't, the way that I've structured my deals with all of my agents is, if they don't book the job for me or source the business opportunity for me, they don't get paid, because I don't think that's fair. I don't think that they should get paid for something they don't do. And when they've come back saying, well, that's not how it works, it's like, well, am I getting a commission from all the other actors that are working on your roster, even though I'm not the one going out and acting in the project? No, because I didn't do anything towards that paycheck. So, and they've been accepted.
And you have to be willing to, again, go back and negotiate with these agents. And if they don't want to negotiate, that is a red flag for you. And, we've had people that have gone back and negotiated and that agents caved and done that. And we've had people that haven't and they passed. And it's like, remember what David just said, it's such a small part of your business. And we make it such a big part. I just recently saw my agent's new contract and I was just like, oh, see, they're again going to start responding to what's happening. And they're gonna be trying to figure out, like, what is the response now? Because I have several clients that are making money with TikTok. And if they've built that TikTok and they built that content and they're on there, they don't need to deal with the agent, right? Like that's not anything to do with the agent. And by the way, there's a lot of agents that have popped up that we have to be really careful now, because I knew this was going to happen. And if I had more bandwidth, I would have stepped in and really. But I saw all these people that weren't actors that were becoming famous because of TikTok. And there was one girl that some of you guys might know. She's a kindergarten teacher, and her gig was she would talk to people. Most likely they were people like Donald Trump and people like that, like they were kindergartners. And she would do like, now put the ketchup down. What did we talk about with wine? And she got like millions of followers and she was hilarious. So she signed with this agent that was signing people from TikTok, and they ripped her off for 40 grand, y'all. And so, anytime, this is why it's so important for us to get really smart about business now and watch our money, because the sharks are circling.
I mean, I will say on the flip side, I think a good example though is use them. Again, they work for you. These are all your employees that are on a commission, that they work for you. And if they don't work, you can hire someone else, you can get someone else, but try to figure out, okay, what is like, they should be bringing more value and generating more money than what they're taking. So for example, with this example that Val just gave, if the agents took 40 grand from her in a commission, well, if I was in her shoes, I would be sitting and thinking, okay, you took 40 grand, so I better be generating directly from opportunities that you are lining up now, at least $41,000 this year, because you should be bringing in more than you're taking out. But then also use your agents, like in November, I went to Halifax to shoot a feature, and there were aspects of that. I got it myself. I knew the producer, I knew the director. I asked if I could read the script. I followed all of Val's advice essentially, and I got the role myself with no agent involved. But then there were elements on there that I'm not as well versed in. So like traveling and accommodations and car service on the other end, and who's gonna, per diems and things like that when you're going across the country to do a shoot like that. So I then took it to one of my agents and said, listen, I'll give you 5% if you can negotiate the travel component of my contract. And then it's not an awkward, I'm not going to them and sounding needy, like I want all of these things. She can step in, she can be the buffer for these things. She took 5% because I felt like she's doing 1/3 of the contract negotiation that she would normally do. And this agent is someone who, in Canada, your agent typically takes 15%, not 10. So I figured she's doing 1/3 of the work on it. She should get 1/3 of the standard commission. And she was I'm really fortunate that my agents are very open-minded to me not paying them. So.
Well, I mean, good, and, again, these people will argue with you that the agent doesn't work for you. And it's like, yeah, they do. If you have a commission-based salesperson, that was the thing, this girl that, came after me the other day, she said the most ridiculous things. I taught a whole class on it. This is literally what she said. She said, this isn't a business because you're human beings. And I was like, well, doctors are human beings.
Yeah.
Therapists are human beings.
Yeah.
It's still business, because all business is the exchange of products, services, or ideas for money. That's it. That's all it is. It's not anything complicated. And then she said, and we are not your customers. Well, yeah, as a casting director, you're right. You're not a customer because you don't ever write the check. But a producer and a director are the two people that generally write a check. So that makes them a customer.
The casting director is the delivery driver. They're picking up the product and they're giving it to the customer. That's all a casting director is they're getting the product to the buyer, but really the product can get themselves to the buyer. You can drive it there yourself. A casting director is no different than a delivery truck driver. Really? Like they're a shipping company to get actors to producers, where you can get it there. Look at Amazon, right? Treat yourselves like Amazon.
Yeah, treat yourself like Amazon. That's so true. It's like, and that is such a great example, because Amazon cut so many middlemen out of the course, but also gave opportunity for middlemen to make money in a different way.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can go on and sell stuff. You can go buy stuff and sell it on Amazon and make money, right? So like, it's like they refigured the entire, business structure. And that's actually what's happening in the acting world right now. That's why we're seeing such a, that's why we're seeing Betty May Casting start selling self-taping, right? Which is such a criminal enterprise. It's like hilarious to me. It's like, and I love that all these little Gen Zers are like, I love Gen Zers. There's nothing better.
These guys are banking on you to be, because it's the way it has been before social media and before you could get instant access to everybody. These people are banking on you being naive, lazy, and complacent and stupid in terms of like how the industry works. So once you start teaching yourself about how does the industry, okay, so how does this relate all the way up here to this? How do they tie in together, and what's the correlation? But once you start realizing how all the pieces fit together in the industry, whether you are a producer, a director, a writer, or an actor, or a combination of all of them, once you start realizing how it works yourself and you can see where you can start cutting out all these middle people, it's those people that work in the middle that just get you from A to B and take a chunk of the pie for themselves, for not actually never creating, never making, never coming up with something, never learning lines, never doing any of it themselves. That's the thing that scares them. And you can do these things on yourself. They're banking on you not teaching yourself how to do it. And there's nothing stopping you from figuring it out. Now, a lot of your agents, when you book work, one of the things that I realized early on was my agent will sign my contract for me. And then so I was never actually seeing, initially with my first probably half a dozen acting jobs that I booked, I never actually saw the paperwork or saw the contract. My agent was signing it on my behalf and just telling me where to go and where to show up. Once I started saying, I want to sign my own contracts and sitting and reading, it's not, another language. It's very straightforward. Like, you can understand and teach yourself. And if you don't know a word, Google it. If you don't understand a phrase, ask someone. Now I know how to do my own contracts, and those things scare them. They're banking on you not knowing how to do it. So, it's your career. No one's going to care about it more than you, right? So teach yourself how to do these things, and it's not, you will be successful. I have no doubt that every single person on this Zoom call right now has one thing in common, and that is we are all on the road to ultimate insane success because we are disrupting, and disruptors always work.
Wow. Okay. Let's talk. Let's get some questions. I'm going to unpin us so we're all part of the group. And then
I don't know what to talk about, but ask.
Okay, but they'll ask you questions. Hold on one second. I'm trying to unpin myself. Remove spotlight. Here we go. All right.
While you're doing that, can you explain just what Betty May Casting was trying to do? Because there are places that will film self-tapes for you. So I think a couple of us are confused.
So Betty May Casting put out an ad last week that said that they were going to start selling self-taping. And they're a casting office. So all of these actors and famous young actors got on Twitter and got on Instagram and went insane. They were like, oh, so now you're going to start charging us to audition? Like, it's already enough that we have to self-tape and we do all this. And they just dragged them through the mud. So then yesterday, SAG-AFTRA stepped in and said that they scolded Betty May Casting. Then the actors went crazy again and were like, scold, that's it? You're going to scold? So I think that you're going to see like Betty May Casting. But why is Betty May Casting, Mary Verneau of all people, one of the biggest casting directors, why does she need to start selling self-taping? That's the question that you need to be asking, right? Why did Sophie Holland walk away from casting? Well, guess what, y'all? Crazy Chris asked her and she answered him. And she said it's because we all stopped coming into the room. And Tineke Becker, the casting director, Tineke Becker, who is my friend since 1995, she told me that when you guys stop coming in the room, we won't have jobs anymore. Why is that casting associate that's coming after me now producing? Again, why is that casting director that used to be a casting director who wasn't a casting director, she was just a casting associate. But anyway, why is she not doing that anymore? Because they can't make money doing it anymore because they are getting cut out. There is less and less money in casting. So they are having to find other ways to make money. And one of the best ways for them to make money are unsuspecting actors, because as soon as someone gets on TikTok or Instagram or Twitter and says that they're a casting director, what happens? Every little actor is like,
Yeah.
I mean, there was an actor that when that casting director the other day went after me, there was an actor that's been following me and saying nice things, and I've been answering all of his questions, immediately throw me under the bus, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, now we know who you really are, right? Because it's like they want to, because we deem them higher than us, and therefore they deem us lower than us. And that's why she reached out to my agent, because I stood up against her. No actor, I'll bet money, no actor has ever done that to her, right? And she was like, oh, right? Because I don't have anything to lose. I mean, like, really, honestly, I'm willing to take a bullet for you guys, because like, I now realize that my bigger purpose is to get rid of the bullies. You know, I've always been the person, funny enough, I'm the adorable bully, but I've always been the person. And I realized, because I did this meditation the other day about triggers. And I realized that one of my triggers is when I was in 5th grade, I was teased a lot for being fat. And there was a little boy, he always teased me, and he pushed me up against the locker, and I would go into the bathroom and I would cry. And then one day he teased my best friend, and I beat the living hell out of him. And he never came back to school because the fat girl beat him up. And I realized that a trigger for me is I can take it, but when someone does it to someone that I love, I'm like, I'm triggered. I'm triggered there. And that's a trigger for me. And so, you know, when she started saying things, I'm doing this because I like actors, I knew that's not true. Like, that's not why she's on there, you know. And the minute an actor said no, she was like, attacked me by literally going after my source of income. First of all, you know, telling people not to listen to me, I'm a scam, and then also my source of income, and then also going after my agent. So don't really like actors, right? And so I saw that. And so we're seeing the breakdown in our industry, but it's great news for us. The only thing that needs to happen here is we need to get smarter. And that's it. All right. Yeah. Helene, ask away. Do I need to unmute?
That cursor is never there when you need it. Okay.
I know.
Hi. Well, I just wanted, before I ask David something, I want to just give a little side to that. I think some people know I work as an indie casting director on very like low budget projects. So I've been working, but I have noticed this year that there are casting directors, and I'm friends with them, who I would call on a higher level than me. They do all the national tours, the off-Broadway. I was really surprised when I didn't get like a couple showcase ones and found out that they were casting them. And I don't think they would have ever gone to the off-Broadway because they were used to doing films and bigger things. So I just wanted to share that I can see that happening. And I've seen casting directors now go, hey, I'm up for teaching and all that. And yeah, it's tough. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that aside. And I have to remind actors constantly when they go, oh, you didn't cast me. I go, I just bring the people in, I schedule. It's the director's choice. I always have to remind actors that. So just wanted to share that from the other side of the table.
Thank you.
Yes. And so David, I don't know if you mentioned it, I'm sorry. What the shows that you're doing, is this something we can follow? I just wanted to take a name down, or is it, I was saying,
Yes.
is it streaming? I'm trying to understand.
In the US, hi, by the way. In
Hello.
the US, you can watch, it's called Face to Face with David. And in the US,
Love it. Yeah.
hey, Out TV, Apple
Oh,
TV,
yeah.
Tubi,
Yes, I have Tubi. Oh, great.
Freevee, like what used to be IMDb TV is now Freevee.
Free. Okay, great.
There's a few There's a handful of it, but it's in the state. If you search it in the States, I would say don't watch the first season aside from Val's episode, because that was when we had no money and we were filming like in my living room. Season 2, we actually got a budget. So it's
Okay.
much better starting season 2.
No,
off.
I love it. I look forward to it. First of all, I love your apartment or house that
Thank you.
live in. Because I have been a part of people created content, and now I just joined a few women and we want to do it. And I know nothing about the producing side, so I love what you said about knowing what other jobs are. I think, and most businesses used to do that. They'd start you in the mailroom or a lower position. Then the best managers knew what everybody else did. So thank you for that quote. Anyway, just thanks. That's just, I wanted to watch what you were doing, and I think your advice is great. So
Thank you. And I think, you said something interesting then, that you have no idea about producing, but it's really, I'm going to challenge you on that, because you
Okay.
do, because producing is creating. You are producing the product, you are producing the show, you're producing the content. There's a bunch of different types of producers. You could be a line producer and focus on the budget. You could be, there's different specifics of producing, but a producer at its core, you are producing content. So you already, when you sit back and if you start thinking about the core roles of a producer, I would challenge you to change your mindset on that, because I think you'll be surprised that you do know already quite a bit of the work that goes into that role, and you would be able to do quite a few of the tasks that a producer fulfills. It's not, it is not, we are not curing cancer. It is not rocket science.
Right.
You can teach yourself and you can be successful with it, and put the work into to do it. And I think you'll be surprised with how much you already know based on the work that you already do.
You know what? Thank you. You're absolutely right, because over 20 years ago, I co-produced my first play and had no idea what to do. And we used to say we were like Mickey and Judy, well, I've got a barn. And we opened, I remember we opened a month after 9/11. We not only made all our money back, we paid ourselves and we raised money for charity. So you're right. It's putting on
You produced. That's you produced. You pulled off a show and you made money off of it, and you didn't go into debt. You produced, in fact, you produce better than a lot of studios produce, because you had a profit with it. So
thank you
know
for
what
the
you're doing.
reminder. Yes, thank you.
Real quick, I just want to say Catherine wanted to say hello because she's going, look at her, she's so beautiful. Say hi, Catherine.
Hey guys, I'm in my car getting ready to actually hit the red carpet. Believe it or not, I've got a double today, so I didn't want to miss this. I've been driving and like putting my makeup on in the car, but I just wanted to say hi, David. It was so amazing being on your show, and I got my robe. Thank you very much.
I really
absolutely
think
love it.
Okay. Catherine is the real success story here. I'm going to say something that might be a little bit I've been trying to formulate how to say this, but Catherine is a true disruptor in the industry, solely for the fact that she came out brand new, booked so much stuff, but not only beat the business model of the industry about how she's getting these roles, but there's such a stigma in this industry about women of an age, or once you're not, if you don't start as the beautiful skinny 20-year-old blonde hair, blue eyes, you're never going to be successful. Catherine proved them wrong, in the sense of like, she came out this is a second career and a new chapter in her life, and she's killing it, and she booked more in 1 year than most actors I know have booked in a career. So Catherine is I find it's a success story for what Val teaches, but it's also inspiring for everyone else that it is possible.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, David. And I will be 60. Val and I share the same birthday, which we'll be celebrating in Vegas. But I feel like my life is beginning, and my goal is to win an Academy Award at 80 years old. So I have a few years left, right? So I was like, wait, this is just so amazing when most people's career starts to kind of wind down. I'm just getting started, and I'm so excited about it. I'm so thrilled with the success, you know, Actors Fast Track has given me, and just wanted to appreciate you so much, David, for doing what you do. You're so kind. You're just such an amazing host, and I am so honored to have been part of your show. So I'm excited.
Well, I'm really happy that I got to meet you. So thank you. And I think I can't wait to see, like I said to you on the show, it's already so, you know, inspirational and exciting what you've done so far. But now once because you filmed it all over the last year and a bit, now once these things start coming out and you start getting the recognition from the audience and the public starts to give you this recognition as well, I think you're gonna hit a whole new level of success, which is insane.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yay! All right, I have to run. I got a red carpet, and I will see you guys soon.
All right, look, be beautiful. I'll see you soon. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Deanie, come on down.
Hello. Thank you so much for your time today, David. It's been so great to hear. I had a question about when you were reaching out to people or companies that you were calling up. Were you going through the route of like pitches at company.com or like the general number, or did you have a specific person you were trying to target?
I had hi, by the way, I've actually seen your videos I was trying to place your face. I've seen your pitch videos on the Facebook group, and I think they are so good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so it's nice to meet you. No, a specific person, because there are so many, just like the casting directors and the agents, there are so many gatekeepers whose jobs depend on following that old traditional model. So I put a lot of work into finding the specific people. And so those are the people that if you have an idea that is already created and already completed, so if you've got a show or a film that's packaged and ready to go, you want to find the acquisitions person, and not the head of acquisitions. You want to find like the junior acquisitions coordinator or the acquisitions assistant, someone like that who they're in the same boat as you and they need to prove themselves by finding this content and take something to the table. So find the people that have the same interests as you. If it's a new idea and you've just got a pitch and you don't have, you know, you're looking for money from someone, you're going to find the commissioning, the people who are in charge of doing commissions and original content. And you can find, there's a website called, well, first of all, go on LinkedIn, type in the company, so the network, and go to the parent company. Because, for example, if you're pitching a show if you've got an idea for a reality show and you're like, this will be great on Bravo, Bravo is not a Bravo is just a channel owned by NBC Universal. So you've got to do a little bit of research and find out who owns the platform that you want to be on. Then you're going to go on LinkedIn and find out, okay, well, let's go through the company database, and just all you need is their name and what they do and their role there. Then go to a different website called Rocket Reach, is where I got all of this information from. Once you've got their name and their role, you put their name in Rocket Reach, and then you get a free trial, which gives you like 5 or 6, or you can pay, it's like $50 or something, and you get the unlimited access. You get their phone number, their email address, you get a secondary email address, you can see who works in their department, you get a company organization structure with contact numbers and phone numbers and emails, and then you've got the keys to the kingdom.
Great. Thank you so much.
That's such good information. So Rocket Reach.
Rocket Reach is the place where you go to get, anybody is on there. You can look yourselves up on there. If you've ever worked at a company where you had a company email address, you'll be on there, chances are, to get, and it works for and now I do it for other stuff that I need. So like, I don't just do it for pitching. I do it for, you know, if I want to complain, really is what I use it for. If I have that service at an airline or something, I'll go on there and find out, well, who's the boss's boss's boss, and I'll send them a scathing email. You know, get shit done.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is not a professional question, but can we get an introduction to your dog?
Yeah, sure. Chloe, come, jump up. Okay, look at the.
Oh, you
Ah.
gorgeous. Thank you. That's made my day.
Of course. Yeah, I think but yeah, go be specific. One thing that I've said on here before, when you're reaching out, because you can use that same method of, if there's somebody that you want advice from, you can use that same method of finding out who's doing what you're doing and who's in a position that you want to be in, and reach out to them. But I would caution you, reach out with specifics. So if you're asking advice or if you're asking a question, be specific, because I love getting messages on Instagram with questions from people that are like you guys, and sitting down and answering it and seeing how I can help back with it. But what I don't like is if you're wanting me to take the time to answer the question and you could have Googled it yourself. So there, don't make it too, make yourself seem like you know what you're doing, but you just need help getting from this point to this point. So if you can Google the answer and it's something that should be easily attained by just doing a little bit of the legwork yourself, check that first. And then also don't go in with overly vague or, just be really specific with it. So if you're going to pitch and you do this and you find that, because you will get their emails, you will get their contact information, you can get all the Netflix, whoever you want to contact, you'll find them on this platform. Don't email them just saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I would love to have a show on your network, because that will be detrimental. Go in with a specific, go in with a concise pitch, go in with a concise question. Does that make sense? Like make it, don't waste their time, essentially.
Yeah, perfect. No, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay, this is awesome. I just want to welcome me and me, Quan Lock and Reese. But both you guys are not clients, but I let you guys in today because we do have the catch up to the challenge coming up at 3:00. But this is good for you guys to see what we bring to our clients on a regular basis. And so I'm glad you're here. I'm not going to kick you out, but I just wanted you to know what this is, what you are in right now is our content creation mastermind, which is what we do once a month for our clients. And who you're talking to right now, who you're hearing from, is David, who's an actor and a producer who has sold 2 shows. For you guys that weren't here from the beginning, 2 shows, one to several networks and platforms, and then he has another one. So I just wanted to clarify, if you're wondering what's going on, we are going to be meeting again at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Right now it's 1 p.m. Eastern time, again, and for the catch up to the challenge. But I'm happy to see you guys here because you've been really participating, and I know at least Reese is, considering working with us. So I'm happy to see you, Reese, and I'm happy to see you, Meekwan Lock. So welcome. Regina, hi.
Hello. There's more people
Yeah.
coming in too. So
Yeah, I
maybe,
see.
maybe others got
Let him
confused
in.
at the
That's
time.
fine. And Darren is a client, so let him in. I'm sure
Hi,
I knew
David.
that would happen. I knew that would happen. So
It's good to see you again. Good to have you here. I don't know if this is really a question for you, but I'm sitting here thinking, I've been thinking about getting involved in producing, and you were talking a little bit to Lean about it. I have a couple of people now that are starting to produce their own short films and things, and I want to support them. I can't necessarily do it fully financially, but I'd like to get involved in, start like low level producing. I know there's lots of levels of producing. So I don't know, do you have any tips for that? Like getting involved with other people's things? I don't necessarily have my own to pitch right now.
Absolutely. I think, first of all, don't do the financial. It's always better to spend someone else's money than your own. But just do a little bit, look up what are the different, I guess, let me clarify first. So there's an opportunity if you went to them that you want to work on these short films as a producer and kind of get the experience, right? If I'm understanding the question correctly.
Yeah.
So think about what your skill set is as a starting point. So if you're more organizational, are you more of a leader? Are you more of a numbers person? Are you more, where does your passion and your skill set and what you could bring to the right now with no extra training or experience? What could you what arena do you fit in? There's a role for you on that set, and then go and pitch yourself to them and say, so for example, if you're good at, numbers, let's say, and you're really good at math and numbers and budgets and really detailed and specific, which I am not, that's a line producer. So you could pitch
No, I
yourself.
can tell you exactly what I can do, which is to corral everybody else and get them to do things. So
So then you would be a producer. So you should go and you should say, I'm great at organization and leadership and kind of getting where, if you need to be from here to here by this time on this day, I can do this for you, and I can wrangle people, and I can make sure that everything is set up and ready to go. So, and you will learn as you're doing that, you'll see other people in other roles and you'll learn while you're on. So like, I'm a big, fan of learning on the job, and because you'll never get better set experience than on a set.
yes,
So.
exactly. Right. It's so funny because I'm sitting here, most of the people in this room know me, and they're probably all laughing, going, Regina, an organization that doesn't make sense at all. But it's really true. It's when I have other people's projects. It's my own that I sit here with and move papers around my desk. But thank you so much.
It's kind of, being a producer is such, I hate hearing people say this, but it is kind of it's such an ambiguous title, because at the end of the day, your job is to produce the content and produce the project at the end of the day. So you can carve out, as a producer, you can carve that out to be what you need it to be. So if there's things that just know your skill set and see what value you bring to the project.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, that's so, like you said early on when you were talking, like, the way that we learn to do these things is by going and actually doing them, or like going and working at an agent's office or going and working at a casting office. We have a new client that works for a casting director, a pretty big casting director. And, when I did her first hour with her the other day, it's like, she's like knows a lot because she works at this, that's her day job. And that really makes a difference. So thank you for that. I'm really also interested in the money conversation as well. So I want to talk more about that, but let's hear from Danielle. Danielle, come on down.
Hello, yes.
Hello.
My question is about momentum, because as we mentioned at the start of this, I'm doing a show excerpt for a festival. That's the deal. So it's one day, and that'll be at the end of March. And that's great. My show's called Danielle XX. I've produced it twice now in previous years pre-COVID. But then when my show is done, I put it down, and then I'm like, now what do I do with my life? So I was wondering if you have suggestions about either growing out of the festival circuit or making bank from the festival circuit, because right now I'm putting money into it. I'm not getting money out of it. Is that something you can help me with?
Perhaps. I guess I would start by asking you, nice to meet you, by the way. I guess I would start by asking you, when you say, okay, so you do the one day and you produce it, you put it out there, and then it just gets put down. I would come back to you and ask, well, why does it just get put down?
Okay. And then I would say, because I didn't answer, what am I doing with this?
Exactly. So it's kind of, what is your goal with it? And again, I say this every time, like a broken record. The best advice I ever got from Val was, take your end goal and then work backwards with it, step by step by step. So if you want to be, if you want your show, it's a stage show, I'm assuming.
Yes, it's a one-woman show. It's half stand-up, half philosopher. I'm a stand-up philosopher. There we go.
Have you taped it?
I have recordings of it in my previous stage productions.
So I would start just off the top of my head. So you want it to grow and get bigger and start making money. That means people need to know about it. And if you're only doing one day showcases, there's only so many seats in the room. Could you tape it and make short form, just get a couple, like a handful of clips from it, short form, and make them funny and interesting and no more than a minute long, put them on TikTok, put them on Instagram, put them on Facebook, and use relevant hashtags, target the people and tag the people that you want to see that can actually make things happen for you with this, and draw them into this by saying, oh, okay, shit, she's funny. I'll watch another 1 minute clip. That's really interesting, or I'm liking this. I'll make another one. I'll watch another one, with the end goal that eventually they will reach out to you. That's what I would do. Step one, that would be my that would be what I would do if I was in your shoes. That would be my immediate next step.
Okay. I was
Just
jotting all that down while we were talking.
hopefully if that's relevant to you.
No,
And then
that-
just
Of course it is. Yes, yes. And
Right.
packaging was the step I was missing.
right. And if you have the whole show from start to finish, then you can take that, if people do reach out to you, you can use the short form content to both at the same time put it out there and just let the world see it and kind of get on people's radars. But you can also use that as a little teaser that you can send people that you want to work with. And then if they're interested and they take the bait, then you can send them the whole thing and say, well, here it is from start to finish. Can you help me with this? Is there an opportunity here? Would you be interested in helping me grow this? Or, get extra financing, get something to that. I really don't know the theater space that well as film and but I mean, that's just how I would approach it.
Yes, I appreciate it. And it's honestly like my goal is the crossover between the theater space and being on film and camera. So this is helpful for me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
try it out and just see. And tag people, like tag me, tag Val, tag people that can repost it and just help get the word out there for you. And you have this whole community, even if everybody on the call only has 100 followers, but we all share everybody else's content and just help do a repost or something, that means everybody all of a sudden is getting seen by 1,000 people instead of 100 people, and we all grow together. So use your community as well.
That's such good advice. So recently, Danielle, I just saw on TikTok this episodic thing, which I think we're going to see a lot more coming up, where it was such a good show where you watch one episode, it was 3 minutes, and it's about this bully, it's about this town bully, and it makes you want, like, he beats everyone up, everyone's scared of him, and then this new kid comes to town with the magical grandmother, right? And he beats the kid up, and then the magical grandmother shows up at his house, and it keeps making you want to watch the next episode. And I was like, oh my God, because a few years ago we talked about this is where short form content was going to start, and then it didn't really go. And a lot of times what we see in the industry is something will start and it really doesn't go, and then a few years later it'll go. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think we're going to see this short form content more and more and more. So this is a great opportunity for you to utilize that on TikTok, right? To do like a short form content, kind of like, like Deanie's content. I bring up Deanie because, like, you watch Deanie on TikTok. Hopefully all of you do. It's very entertaining. It's like, it's entertaining, and she brings you into her world and makes you, like, I'm doing content to do with my business, right? Delivering content that helps actors. Whereas you guys need to think about the content that you're doing that entertains, right? I mean,
such a big part of your business. Like it's got so many pitfalls, but it's so necessary that every single person should be making it track your engagement, track your followers, track your reach, track all of those analytics that are built into all of these platforms. They're all incredibly necessary, especially for someone like Danielle, who, if your ultimate goal is to take this to the screen, if you get a contract for your own show, almost every single one of my contracts and the deals that we structure, they have to have a digital component. So you're going to need that anyway. So if you can start doing the work now and have more control over it, you're going to be helping yourself. But it's a numbers game, which is, like Val talked about, the people that are, that have no experience in this industry, they go viral on TikTok, they're getting the jobs that you should be getting and the contracts that you should be getting because you're putting in the training. So social media it's unfortunate, but it should be one of the pillars of your business plan as a CEO, and grow it and track it. And, I'll go on and I'll lose, 50 followers one week, and I'll be like sitting and obsessing. Okay, what did I say? What did I post that would make someone want to unfollow me, and that I would lose 50 followers in a week? And then there's other weeks where I'll gain, 100, and then same thing. Well, what was that? What was the trigger point for gaining? And then teach yourself social media, right? It's so necessary. And work begets, well, if they're seeing that on there, yeah, everyone should make it a priority.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Who else has questions? We have someone that, yeah, I know you do. Yes, Anna, come on down.
Hello. So I have a question for David. I'm working on my first content project, which is my friend's script, and she wants to make 15-minute film and wants me to play part in it. And what we're looking for right now is to get feedback on her script. So do you have any advice? What would be the best way to do that if we need to organize the reading or anything like that?
I would say look at again, what I just said, like look at the people you have right here with you. You know, is anybody willing to read the script and give feedback on it? And, you know, critical feedback, and look at it from a constructive and a critical thinking element on it, right? Like, again, you're so fortunate because you have that group on Facebook, the I Love Actors Facebook group. You're so fortunate to be able to have instant access. I wouldn't spend the time and the money and the resources on doing a reading of it and kind of, you know, like that. I would send it to people that are interested in reading. And if anybody wants to read it, send it to them and get feedback on it, and send it with the understanding that if you're going to send it to them, they have to give it back to you within 7 days with some notes on it, or send them a questionnaire or something to get the feedback on it. But yeah, that's something that's an easy solution to a problem. Yeah.
Thank you.
And, you know, I want to say something. That's great, Anna. Anna's such a great client. And I want to say that when I did my one-woman show and when I produced my short film, the thing that all of those things do for you when you're creating content is that they keep your creative beast alive and they feed your creative beast. And the other thing is, like, a lot of times we're so focused, especially if you're here at Actors Fast Track and you're taking the actions that we ask you to do, the outreaches. A lot of you are so focused on, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm not getting anything back. Well, both times I did my short film and I did my one-woman show, when I was doing those things, I booked a whole ton of shit because my focus wasn't on getting things back. My focus was on my project. And so that I think is a really good thing, because especially in the beginning, or if you're slower, and by the time I did my short film, I did it just because I had inherited some money and I did it out of love and I loved the script. It wasn't something I needed for my career at the time, but it was funny. I booked a big movie because I was on my way to shoot the short and I got this audition and I quickly put it down and quickly did it. And of course I booked it because I wasn't really, you know, focused on that. So I think it's a great idea for you, Anna, to keep creating this stuff, because you are, for you guys that don't know, Anne, how many meetings have you had so far, Anna?
10 or 11 so far.
She's had 11 Zoom coffee meetings where she's reached out to people, asked them for meetings, and she's been able to set up the meeting. And she just had a very, very, very successful meeting with a very big director, producer team, which was really exciting. And they work with Carrie Preston. If you guys don't know who she is, she's a big time working actress. She was one of the leads in True Blood. And that's her best friend, is who she just met with. So congratulations on that. So as you're doing all these meetings and setting up all these meetings, it's great that you're also involved in producing a film.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Valerie.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you as well. That's really exciting.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
All right, who else? Come on, we got some questions. I know y'all do, because you got projects and things you're working on. So ask David whatever you want to ask him. Okay, so I have a question. So, you know, I've got this show. with my husband. And I talked to, as I told you, I talked to the producer of the Anthony Bourdain show and Everybody Feeds Phil. And they said that I didn't really need to shoot the pilot, that I could just shoot, that I needed a really good deck, and then I could just shoot a sizzle reel. So I'm kind of stuck at, like, because I've been dealing with everything with my company and a multiple of surgeries. I've like been sort of like stuck on like this whole deck thing. And so like how to really, I don't know. I guess
For
I got
people that don't know as well, can I just clarify, if you don't know what Val means by deck, that's just a fancy millennial word for a PowerPoint. That's what a deck is a PowerPoint presentation.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is like, I mean, you're such a go-getter and you find time for all these things. And I mean, I am running a company as well that's made a lot of changes and everything. Like, I don't know, I guess I like finding the time to do that or the time to commit to it. I'm sort of like stuck in that right now. And I guess maybe there would be something that you would say that would get me unstuck.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm seeing the chat. Like, I just want to quickly point out, like, you've got your readers already. Like, see how quickly that problem was solved? Everybody who's agreed to read the script and give you feedback, there you go. So I think that's great. For Val, for your deck, so that's your sales pitch. And it's not as big of a mountain to climb as you think, because you sent me the one pager.
Yes.
Your page pitch is the condensed version of your deck. So you already have all of your points on there. Now you're just where you had like all the bubbles on the one page pitch and the different points. So like, what is the show? Who's going to be on it? What are we going to do? Who's going to watch it? How are we going to pay for it? Where's it going to air? You have all of those things answered in 2 or 3 sentences on one piece of paper. Now you're just taking those 2 or 3 sentences and expanding them to be 2 or 3 slides. So you had one sentence. So for example, what is the show? Explain the show and hook the people. So you're using that, the one page pitch is your roadmap, and you're just expanding that out using PowerPoint. You don't have to go and get a graphic designer and spend a bunch of money on making this pitch deck and paying to pitch it. It's just PowerPoint. You're just typing it out, make it look pretty, use one of their templates. That's it. So you're the hardest part. You're not coming up with anything new because you already have the answers in your case, which you have so for people that don't know, Val has an idea for a show, and step 1 was sitting and thinking, what's the idea? Who is going to buy it? Where could it air? Who's going to host it, and why is it different? Like the core basic ideas of a pitch. And Val put together this really nice, beautiful one-page pitch document. That's what you're going to use to hook. And then your deck is just expanding on all of those points. You've done the hard work. You don't need to come up with any new information. You just have to expand upon what you've already figured out.
And I think like the hard part is like when I talk to the producer from Everybody Feeds Phil and from Anthony Bourdain. I mean, obviously she knows about cooking shows because it's a cooking show, you guys. And she knows about cooking shows, and she talked to me about what Phil went through. And I saw, Helene, that Phil, so that's fun. But like Phil really, like for you guys that don't know, Everybody Feeds Phil, it's on Netflix and it's very popular. And she talked about how a lot of people shot him down but he was very clear that who the audience was. Like he wanted mom and pop Nebraska to be able to feel like, oh, I can go to Russ and Daughters in New York, even though I can't go there right now, but I know what it's like to go there and have a bagel with lox. And there's humor in there too. So I feel like I fit in as well. And he wanted to entertain, he wanted to humor, and it's like, it was good because she said so many networks were like, no one's going to buy that. No one's going to buy that, just like they did to you. And Netflix bought it. And now it's one of the most popular shows on Netflix. And so I thought, And it's so funny because we had a client on it in the first season as well. She was the ballerina, and he had lunch with ballerinas in Central Park on the first season. And so I guess like I think like, who wants to hear from a 60-year-old mixed couple about, you know, what's happening with climate and food? I think maybe a lot of people.
For
You
shit.
do?
I do, because I can't cook. I've said so many times the only thing I know how to make is a reservation. So I would want to learn from you because you know how to cook and you're giving interesting stories. And I would also remind you that at this stage in the game, you are in control. You are not accountable to anyone other than yourself. Right now is where you have total control over this. So this is when you should be putting in the most work with it. And make it fun. You know, you're not accountable to anybody right now. Grab a bottle of wine and go sit on the beach and type out your slide deck on a laptop and, you know, have a drink and watch the sunset or something. Do it that like you can. The idea that trying to find the time, if it's important and you believe in it and you're confident in it, you will make the time because you'll find that, you know, you can find the time with it. So instead of sitting and watching, for example, an hour of a different show, you could devote that hour to getting your own show off the ground. Or instead of, you know, sitting and going and doing whatever, you will find the time to do it, and you've already got the legwork done. And then once you've typed this out, getting the sizzle filmed, that's easy. Getting in the rooms and getting this deck and this sizzle and this pitch in front of people, you already have the connections and the context to do this. You've got your entire infrastructure is in place. And I would say if the only thing stopping you is, you know, finding the time to write out a slide deck, you know, why?
Yeah.
Right? Like you could do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I guess like it's like I can do that. I mean, it's like that's one thing that you give me a lot of hope around, David. Like I watched what you did. You know, I watched what you did. You went from being an actor to now selling 2 shows, now a 3rd show, and you know, and you're an inspiration. So thank you. Thanks for saying that. I really appreciate that. I'm glad I put that out there. Yeah.
You can do it. You can do it. And I mean, everybody on the, you know, in 1 year from now, it'll be fun to see, okay, there's all these people that are on this call and they've heard this right now. Well, in March 2024, how cool is it going to be when Val gets on and says, hey, we're in production on the show and, you know, we're filming the first episode or we sold it to this company or whatever, right? Like you've got people that have heard that the only thing in the way is finding time. So you can find the time. It's very
All right.
you said you wanted to ask about money or something.
Yeah. So a lot of people and people that are watching this, I know Maggie is watching this recording. Hi, Maggie. So Maggie's biggest thing right now is finding money for her production. So how do we find money?
That's not easy. That's what I taught myself is how to find cash and how to get capital and how to get money. You need to have a value proposition and you need to become basically you need to learn how to pitch to venture capitalists, which is just a fancy way of saying find rich people who like film and pitch to them. But that's where it comes into needing the business plan. So if you're going to a network and selling the idea to a network or a studio, the understanding is that they will give you some or all, like we don't get all of our financing from the networks. We have to bridge the gap with product placements and sponsorships and ad sales and stuff. But if you're trying to do a film, let's say, and you need money, come up with a business plan. So that's where you need that pitch and that deck, and you write out who is going to watch this? Why is this going to be successful? And here is a very detailed budget proving why you need every one of those line items. Then go and start finding people who have the cash to do it. So if your movie, you know, take the concept of your film and what story is that telling and who's going to watch it and who's passionate about that, or what is the social issue that is being tackled with this film, or what is the point and the message you're getting across. who is in the real world going to be impacted by this and passionate by this. And then that's the first step in finding people that would be more likely to put cash in and want this project to be made. But then you have to have a business plan about how do they get their ROI, which means return on investment. So how are they going to get their cash back? If it's a short film, they're not getting their money back. So a short film is really hard to try to pitch to get the cash for. It's a much smaller amount of money, but short films typically don't generate revenue. So a business plan, you're coming up with a business plan about how you're going to, who's got the money you want, how are they going to get it back, when are they going to get it back? And if you're doing it with, I mean, you can think really outside the box as well. With, for example, the talk show, we get a little bit of money from the networks that covers a lot of the bulk of the hard costs, and then we pay ourselves a lot from product placements and sponsorships. Well, those are companies who they're harder to get in the room with, but they're easier to sell the idea and get the check from, because to them that's a write-off, that's a marketing tax break that they get. So if you're, if there's an opportunity, if your film takes place in a house, if the whole thing or a bulk of the movie takes place in a property and location and getting that's an issue for you, go to a home builder, go to someone like that, where they can get their brand in your project, give you some money, let you film in there, cut some of your expenses out. They get to write it off on their taxes. It's a corporate marketing expense for them. They're not as concerned about getting the cash back in their pocket. There's so many ways you can think outside the box to get the money. And also I would challenge you that if you have a script right now, or you have a project with a budget, think really hard and go through line by line by line by line. How can you cut every number in half or get rid of that expense? Val introduced me to someone, and we sat with the script and we sat with the budget, and the budget was like $500,000. And we went through the budget, and by the end of it, he and I had realized, well, actually we could do this for 300,000, not 500,000. There's always ways to lower that number.
And by the way, when I introduced you to our client and you are involved with the script now, how big was that budget that he sent you? It was 13 pages, you said, right?
Oh yeah, the budget is, you've got to be so particular, because you need to be able to account. If you're spending someone else's money, you have to be able to account for every single dollar. And one of the biggest line items always is producer fees. If you as the producer, it's a tough conversation you have to make with yourself, because it's really easy to say, well, I want a $50,000 producer fee for doing this film. Well, do you want the $50,000 producer fee, or do you want the film made and you're willing to bet on it yourself? So every single line item, but I mean, that budget was down to like, craft services, gas for the transportation, who's going to pay for, like, it was so meticulous. And it was a really good example of the perfect project budget, because it covered absolutely everything. And the way that you can approach doing up your budget and figuring out all the elements, because there are things that you do need to get a project made. And the way that you can figure that out is just sit back and think, okay, put yourself in the shoes that the project is going forward. Put yourself first in the shoes of the actor. Okay, you're going to need to be picked up, transportation, hair and makeup. You're going to want to be fed. You're going to need there are things that you need as an actor where you can build your budget from that. Then put yourself in the mind of the director, of the sound engineer, of the writer, all of the elements. And you can start building out a really good budget. And if you don't know those things, you can find someone to ask them, or get an example budget, get a mock, but those are things you can easily find online. You can get sample budgets and templates online. If you can't find one, I can send you one.
Yeah, you guys, so Meredith, who is going to be our guest in April's content mastermind, which will be back to the second Saturday of the month, Meredith has produced 3 major films, including a film where she starred opposite Mina Savari, and she got her investors' money back. So make sure you put on the calendar for you guys that are clients for the content mastermind in April that you want to be there, because Meredith really when I started thinking about getting into producing as a company a couple of years ago, and I started talking to David, and I talked to Meredith, and I talked to all my friends that were producers, when Meredith started talking to me, and she has that lovely Southern accent for you guys that know her, when she started talking to me about money, I was like, and so, but she's really good at that as well. So that'll be a really good thing that we can talk about in the month of April with her. Good.
Can I add really
Yeah.
quickly as well? I think this goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this call about educating yourself on how the industry works. And so when you're talking about financing and money and budgets and stuff, you have to, you should be able to also answer the question of how do they make it back? So if you have a film, how does a movie generate money? You should know the basic economics of how the industry works. If you have a television show, how does it because is it a show that you're going to own the rights of and you're going to license it to different networks like I do with mine? Or is it something that you're going to partner with one network, get an upfront fee, but then they have creative control? You should know how the type of project that you're doing generates money and what the different revenue streams for the project are. That will help you build your budget. That will help you sell to investors, and it will help you educate them on, okay, you give me $100,000. Here's how I'm going to aim to get you $120,000 back in this amount of time from these different sources. So that's also equally important, is to know not only what your budget is and how much you need, but where you're going to recoup that money from, and how is your project going to be financially viable.
That's so good. Yes, Audrey. Hi, Audrey.
Hi there. My question is, I don't know if it would be understandable, but is there a situation where putting the series or the film that you're making to be able to be streamed would be more profit, like on Amazon Prime Video or on YouTube, would be more profitable than selling it to a channel?
If it's hi, by the way, if it's a film, I'd probably lean more towards streaming, because then people can watch it at whenever. I like streaming because you can watch it. It's how society is trending. People are, we're getting more and more, you want it your way when you want it, how you want it. So whereas when it's on TV, you're more restricted. But it really depends. Maybe I don't understand, but can you elaborate the question just a little bit more?
Yeah, so right now I'm working on a series, and it's still in pre-production, the pilot. I'm working with someone to make the music, and I wondered if I was gonna contact channels and like you said, junior acquisition, or just sell it, put it automatically on you. Sorry, I'm like tired or something, but yeah, or just put it on YouTube or something like that. So I don't know exactly where I want to put it yet.
Don't put it on YouTube. Every single
All right.
contract that I have with all of these dozens of different networks for different things, don't ever put your full length project. The second it becomes available for free on a network that you don't have to pay for, so YouTube or Facebook, for example, you will lose your licensing deals and shoot yourself in the foot. So if it's available on YouTube, as a platform where you can go on, you can watch anything start to finish for free. As soon as you do that, it means that you can watch that content without signing up for the streaming service who pays, charges you a monthly subscription, or a service like Tubi where it doesn't cost you anything, but they run ads in it. The second you put your project on YouTube, you've devalued it and it becomes detrimental. So I would say avoid, put teasers out and put clips out and like hook people in, like I was saying earlier to Danielle, I think it was Danielle, right? Put clips out and teasers out, but don't put the full length thing on YouTube. And all of my contracts say it cannot be made available. I wish I had the contract handy so I could read the exact verbiage, but it's basically, if you put it on YouTube, you forfeit this deal.
Right.
In terms of dollars, I mean, we get more money from streaming services than we get from television networks, but it really depends. If they're going, so I can give you, I can't tell you how I know this. I'll preface it with that. There's a show that films in Canada called Heartland, which also airs in the States, and it's quite popular, or it's the closest thing Canada has to a soap opera. It's like a watered down.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm from Canada too.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So it's like a watered down Yellowstone is how I describe it, like less blood. But their episode budget from CBC, it's a CBC show. They get about $1.7 to $1.9 million an episode from CBC to make the show. Then they sell it to so their first window is it airs on CBC. Then they second window license it to Netflix. And on Netflix, they only get $25,000 an episode. That's the licensing fee that Netflix. So it's a runs at a loss every episode runs at a loss. But then there are other shows. There's a show called Workin' Moms, also a CBC show, which they get a budget from CBC, then they sell to Netflix, and they make more money back from Netflix than what they get initially to produce it. So there's so many different variables that it's hard to say. But in my own experience, I have more financial success with streaming services than I do with broadcast television.
All right, thank you.
That was great.
Also,
can you tell us the channel yet that you're going to be on in the UK yet?
No.
Okay.
Only because I don't have the final. I wanted one little tweak to the. Again, going back to knowing your value, I signed a deal with a network in the UK that's a free view channel that's available for everybody, but it's not, you don't have to subscribe extra to it, so everyone gets the channel on all TV providers. But they then got wind that we've upped our episode count and that we're going to be doing way more this year and way more next year. So they amended the contract to say that we want to pre-option all these other episodes. I then shot back and said, well, you can pre-option this year's, but for next year, I'm not going to pre-sell to you next year if you're going to you might make a fortune off of this. So again, it's just knowing your value, but also it means I don't have the finalized contract back yet because they're shooting back a final offer on it for the 6th season.
I have another question actually. I don't know if you know Nouveau. It's a Canadian channel too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a channel and it's also a streaming platform, and I wonder if that would be a great idea to sell to.
Think bigger.
All right.
Start at the top and work your way down. Think big, because you have to think as well. You have what they need: a streaming service or a network or a platform. They need you. They don't exist without content. They need content creators. So you have what they need. So start at the top. So go to places like, for example, CBC. Every network has a streaming platform now as well. So if you have a content that you think would fit with CBC, it's very easy using the method I said at the beginning of this session today. It's very easy to get the direct contact information for the entire acquisitions team at CBC Gem, which is their online thing. Then Rogers, just like if you're in the UK, one of the easiest 2 places to pitch projects to and to get the contact information for is a network called UK TV. They're a conglomerate with a bunch of different channels under them. And then also Channel 4. Channel 4 goes so far as to say, here's who you email your pitches to, and here's what we typically pay for half-hour content, for 1-hour content, and for feature-length films. So all of that, think bigger than because Nouveau, you're probably going to sell your movie to a small network like Nouveau and get like $1,000. But then you've sold it and then it's not yours anymore. Okay. For $1,000, right? So start at the top and then work your way down.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. And when you're talking about Channel 4 and all these things, I'm thinking like, Deanie, you need to have your own series. Yes. You need to have a series. I mean, come on.
I'm working on it.
Okay, yes.
Sure, I would watch it. You should.
I mean, my God, it's like, yes, you are so funny. And, you're like absolutely fabulous funny. And so you should definitely have your own series, for God's sakes. Okay.
We have add to like getting your own. It's not. Once you actually start the process of trying to get your financing, get an investor, sell to a network, get the pitch meeting, get your foot in the door of these places, it's not as hard as you think it is. And it's not this, but it's not, you're not breaking into the White House. It is, you're meeting with people that need to buy what you're selling. And once you actually start getting out there and reaching out and taking those steps to reach out to these people and putting yourself out there, more times than not, they're going to want you to be successful and want to work with, because you're solving the problem that they have and you're cutting out the middleman, which means the fee that they pay you is probably going to be more in your pocket, but less than they would pay, because they don't have to factor in the distribution company and the sales agents and the managers and all of these people. So it's not scary, and they want to work with you and they want to get back to you. And then as soon as, even if they say no, so let's say, okay, you reach out to NBC Universal, Comcast, Time Warner, Disney, you pitch to everyone. Or if you're in the UK, you reach out to Channel 4 and UK TV and ITV and all these places. Well, the nice thing is, even if they say no, you've got their email address now and their name and their phone number and their direct line, and you've got your foot in the door forever. Then anytime after that, your pitching just became so much easier, and you've got this network. I then get this is, I got really petty, and all the people that said no to the show, I send them like ratings information, and I send them like updates on like how many shows, like how many channels were on. Like there was this one woman who just totally shut it down, and I sent her a thing. She said no one would ever give any airtime to this. So I sent her an article from the other week that showed that I got an average of 60 hours of nationwide airtime in 2022. I send that to her. So I follow up with them, because then you've got their information. But I bet you now, if I went to her and said, I want to sell you this other show, she'll pick up the phone this time and I'll get the meeting, right? It's just, everyone thinks Canadians are really nice and polite, but some of us are not. But anyway. Yeah.
I think that's like the big thing for actors. It's like the moment an actor gets slapped like that, so many actors go off and hide. And if you understand, like if we took a page out of David's book and said, oh, right, like, oh, right, and go, and then, kept up with them, it's hilarious. Because I think, the thing is, like, my vision of creating an army of smart actors is like coming to fruition now. And it's like exciting. And to hear you talk and say those things, I mean, for me, it's so inspiring. So thank you for what you said. Okay, we have a little bit more time, you guys. We have about 12 minutes. So who else has a question? Please hop on here. We'd love to hear from you.
Can I suggest something? Just that
Yes.
I think maybe I should have done this privately, but I'm going to suggest something that you can all do in your group, or however you guys communicate with Val or whatever. Maybe you all pitch in, and instead of everybody paying the, $50 or the $80 for that service, maybe you all pitch in and buy a premium plan where you get unlimited access to it. And you've got this, a generic username and a generic password. And then you guys can all start building a database of people. Like, one person is going to tackle, all right, I'm going to tackle distributor or acquisitions people in the UK. And then you commit to adding, 4 or 5 names and contacts to that list. Someone else commits to finding people in, East Coast USA. And then someone else commits to, I can give you all of the contacts for Canada, and you could work together and all of it, have this huge database of contacts for what you
We
need.
have a database for our clients, which Scott created, and which we have. And so I think that, we've already started this thing over the years and collecting these things. So I think that's one thing that I've always championed, because I always believed that, because we came from this world where many years ago, like in my old business of acting business, I had another one for you guys that don't know. In the 90s, I had a company called Strategies before Actors Fast Track. And one time I had this client, and just like you guys, all of my clients were really smart, really talented, go-getter actors. And I had this actor that was perfect for this play, and he wanted to get at this director who I had worked with and actually bled for. This director had put me through such turmoil that I had to see a chiropractor and everything else. So I have this guy's, business address, not even home address. And I said, here's his address, send your stuff to this guy. This director called me up and chewed me a new asshole for giving out his information. I was like, first of all, I bled for you and I was a good actor for you and I did the play for you. And if you think so less of me that I'm going to send you some sort of nut job actor, I'm sending you an actor that's perfect for the play that you're getting ready to cast, then I'm going to tell him not even to, and by the way, I was right. The director who was so up and coming at the time is nowhere to be seen now. So, like hello, but like, like that was and I told myself then that I'm never going to back down. Like, I think it's important for us to share information and help each other. That's why I always tell you guys that you're welcome to use my name and reach out, because I believe in you guys and I believe in your who you are, that you're not a bunch of freaks. I don't let freaks come. We have plenty of people that try to become part of Actors Fast Track that I'm like, no, because they're crazy, right? And I don't, and David, we know David has had to deal with it crazy lately. And so he knows all about that. There's crazy people out there. And so there are, but all of the guys in here, you guys are smart, savvy, business-minded actors. That's why you're here. And so, I think that's great. Thank you for saying that, David. And we should increase that. I'm going to make sure Scott wasn't able to make it today, but make sure, I know you've talked to Scott several times and that he sees this recording because he's sort of been in charge of that. We're moving everything, by the way. We're redoing all of our websites and the Actors Biz School, and we're moving it all onto one platform to make it much more concise and ready for what's coming down the pike here. So that's a good idea. Thank you for that, David.
Yeah. Were there any other? I feel like there's so many people that haven't said anything yet, but you probably have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do have a question. Hi, David, by the way.
Hi.
I do have a question, but it's not to do with what's been talked about here. I tried to, when we talked about cans, Valerie, and
Yes.
different things. Basically, I did have a look today because I was trying to find out, the up and coming directors and stuff like that, and just try and research it. I could not find a thing with regards to what films are on there and stuff like that. I don't know whether it would be up at the moment or yet or whatever.
It might not be up for Cannes, but you could go to South by Southwest. So I gave for Reese, I gave him a suggestion, David, of going to like South by Southwest and Sundance and downloading a list of all the films that were nominated and checking out those directors and producers and researching them, because he's like on the movie star track. That's the track that he's on. And so I'm like, you need to get in front of these young and up and coming directors. That's the path you need to be on. And so probably it might not be listed for Cannes yet, right? I mean, David, you had your partners sell a film there, right?
Yeah, we had a premiere there. Cannes, I mean, if you're just trying to find out who's going to be there, it's the same with the Academy Awards. There's a path to get there. So you don't just, for Cannes, you're, like Val just said, look at the other festival, the smaller premiere festivals and who's winning there, and then going on to Cannes, just like with the Oscar, like the Academy Awards. Look at all the other award shows that happen in the months preceding and what the trends are for that. And then you'll find out who's going to likely be showing up at the Academy Awards as well. So yeah, you can work backwards from it, even if the list isn't out there yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would go to South by Southwest, Sundance, and Toronto. Those are the three that I would really focus on. And South by Southwest is happening next week. It's starting next week. So a list of all the films that are going to be playing there are definitely up on a site.
So they will be there. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look that up. Well, Very
And you can
daunting.
also look at last year's as well. Like you can see who won last year and who's what, is there anybody did anybody win last year that also was featured the year before? Like you can check the trend, the historical trends.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. Thank you. Thanks for your time, David.
Yeah, nice to
Yeah.
meet you.
And so David, your producing partners sold a film at Cannes, right?
Yeah, well, they had a film premiere there, and then it was purchased after a screening at Cannes. So that was a movie. That's a really good example, actually. That was a film that they did for $48,000 and then sold for like 800 and something $1,000. So it's not impossible.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Karen said they haven't finished Ken submission yet at Cannes. Okay, who else has well, we're almost out of time. So here's what I want to say. Oh yeah, Karen, go ahead.
Yeah, because you just said that about your producing partner. Hi, it's nice to meet you. We have a film right now that we submitted to Tribeca, and we know it's in the kind of final rounds. They finished, ours was made for about 30 grand, and we're hoping the same type of thing. So I'm just wondering, when it comes to submitting at festivals, did they do a lot of lobbying to get it there? Because that's what we're learning to do, right? Is lobbying and meeting people and networking. It's the same thing as acting, right? Networking and getting to know the programmers and that kind of thing. Is that how you guys got into Cannes as well?
Yeah, it's a lot of kind of figuring out who the key players. I mean, there's always going to be the films that just get made, submitted, and then screened. So whether or not that is going to be the case with yours, it can't hurt to also start reaching out to people and find out who the decision makers are. Send them a screener, send them a pitch. It can't hurt. But yeah, we'd always do it. I do it with everything. And then whether or not that makes the decision or not, it's like subliminal marketing. Like when you see a realtor with a bus bench, nobody's buying a house because they look at a bus bench and think, oh, you know what, I should call them and buy a house. But when you go to meet with a realtor and they introduce themselves, subliminally you recognize their name because you're so used to seeing that bus bench and that advertise. It's secondary marketing. So I would approach it that way. Yeah, like it can't hurt to kind of, I wouldn't hardcore be like, hey, what can we do to get this movie? Right. Like bribe them, because that might work against you. Right. But it can't hurt to send out introductions and introduce and just start getting on their radar. And, so that they become familiar with your name and your project. And then, I mean, the way that the film festivals, like you pay to submit, and then it's no guarantee that your film will be in there. But the goal of the film festival is the more films that are like those stories where it's made for a smaller amount and then sells for a crazy amount of money and then goes on to be really successful, that helps the film festival and their credibility and their future revenue streams. So they're looking for those projects that are, what's going to be the biggest return, what's going to have the biggest impact, what's going to tell the best story. Does that kind of answer?
Yeah, no, that's really, really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for asking that question. Great. Okay, David, God bless you. Thank you so much for being here. And we are going to run a contest again at some point with face-to-face with David like we did before. So
we have so many episodes to fill now. Like we could do 2 this year if you want. Like we have so many. We have one filming block in May and one filming block in September. So
maybe we'll run another contest in May. And for you guys that don't know about the contest, you have to be a paying client of Actors Fast Track to be in the contest. And the contest, we will do it again. Catherine won it the last time and got to be on the show. And as soon as we know an air date, we don't know an air date yet, right?
In Canada, it airs at the end of this month. And then I don't know for the internet because it goes, so your first window, like the show airs initially in Canada, then second window licensing, it airs in Canada and the States and the UK. Then third window, it airs globally. So it's in Canada this like March 20 something per episode.
Great.
Yeah, I can.
Okay,
I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Also, send me my husband's episode.
Yes, Gil was on. He's on his. Oh my God, his would have aired because he's on episode 2. If anybody's a fan of Star Trek, Val's husband was the first guest on that episode was Gates McFadden, who played Dr. Beverly Crusher in Star Trek: The Next Generation and on Star Trek Picard. And then after her interview was done, Val's husband came on and tried to teach me how to cook a salmon. Yeah. He said it's super easy, only 6 ingredients. I cannot. No.
And then when's Catherine's episode? What episode is that?
She'll be on at the end of this. Hang on, I have this book right here. Maybe it might be Catherine Hollis Peters. Okay, the first, so you and Kat, because you're on with Catherine. It's a guy named, the first person on that episode is an actor named Andrew Fung. He's a Canadian actor that did a show called Kim's Convenience. Actually, he's someone you should get on here. He did a show called Kim's Convenience. He and we both live here. We have the same agent. He did a show for CBC called Kim's Convenience. And then when that was done, one of the guys from Kim's Convenience, Simu Liu, I don't know how to say his name. He went on to become mega famous. And then Andrew went back to CBC and said, I have an idea for a show. Do you want to buy it? And he sold his own show to CBC. So he's doing exactly what we're all trying to do. And he doesn't pay an agent, even though we have the same agent. Her most successful people pay her nothing. I'm realizing as I'm saying this. And there's a problem with the industry. But so it's Andrew, and then Catherine and yourself, and then an author out of Vancouver who's also an author turned actress. She couldn't get going as an actress, so she wrote a novel, and now she's selling the novel as a TV series that she's going to star in. So she took a really long roundabout way to get around to it, but yeah.
Wow. Okay, great. I'm excited.
Yeah.
And great. So we'll probably run the contest again in May, and do that again. That was so much fun, and it was fun to be on there. And I'm the advertiser. Actors Fast Track is the advertiser. So
Val on every single episode, the logo and the website. And actually there's one with all of you sent one ad that's got like a grid of everyone's faces.
yeah.
Yeah. So, there you go.
I'm excited. We're going to have fun. All right. Thank you so much for being here. It was a great content mastermind. I will see all of you guys. Some of you guys come back in an hour. We're going to be here for the challenge, catch up to the challenge webinar. We're going to talk about Anna's branding a little bit on there. I'm going to go look at some pitch videos because everyone's posting their pitch videos. And then I will see the rest of you guys, all the clients, on Tuesday's mastermind. We're going to talk about brand on Tuesday's mastermind. That's the theme. David, God bless you. Thank you for being here. We so appreciate you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Reach out.
Okay. I'll see y'all soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.